There are some secrets people take to the grave, and then there are secrets they make sure survive them. In the quiet suburbs of Bedford, New York, behind the gates of one of America's most powerful families, a story was unfolding, one that wouldn't fully come to light until years later through a plastic bag filled with private diaries. Diaries that were never meant for the public. Diaries that revealed the inner struggles, hidden habits, and private confessions of a man born into one of the most iconic political dynasties in American history, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. But this story isn't just about him. It's about the woman who held those secrets in her hands, his second wife, Mary Richardson Kennedy, and what she chose to do in the final weeks of her life. Before we begin, if you're drawn to real stories like this, hidden truths, powerful families, and the secrets they leave behind, make sure you subscribe to Unveiled Truth Crime Tales and turn on notifications, because some stories don't just inform you, they stay with you. It started with a bag, not in a courtroom, not in a police station, but in a restaurant on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. Investigative journalist Isabel Vincent had just taken her seat when she noticed something unusual, a plastic shopping bag sitting quietly on her chair. No note, no explanation, just a message delivered earlier. "I think you'll be interested in these." Inside that bag were several personal diaries, worn, handwritten, and deeply private. They belonged to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and someone close to the family, had decided it was time for those secrets to be seen. By the time those diaries surfaced, nearly a year had passed since Mary Richardson Kennedy's death in 2012. Her passing shocked those who knew her. To the outside world, she was part of American royalty, the Kennedy family, elegant, connected, privileged. But behind that image was a woman navigating something far more complicated, a marriage that had begun to fracture, a relationship that had turned into conflict, and a life that, according to those close to her, had become increasingly difficult. The journals spanned from 1999 to 2001. At first glance, they appeared to be personal reflections, but as Isabel Vincent began reading, it became clear they were something else entirely. They were a window into the private mind of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Inside, he wrote about grief, a grief that never truly left him, the loss of his father, Robert F. Kennedy, who was killed in 1968. That moment had shaped his life, defined his identity, and haunted him for decades. In one entry, he reflected on the weight of expectation, the feeling that he was being watched, judged, measured, that no matter what he did, it might never be enough. But the diaries didn't stop at grief. They went deeper. They revealed his struggles with addiction, his path to recovery, and the internal battles he faced along the way. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. would later acknowledge these journals publicly, describing them as part of his process, his way of examining his life after decades in recovery. But at the time they were written, they were never meant to be read by anyone else. Among the most shocking revelations were the lists, detailed accounts of encounters with women, each one categorized, each one assigned a number, a private system, a secret record. To Mary, these entries were more than just words. They were evidence, not necessarily for the public, but for something deeply personal. Understanding, validation, proof. By the time the diaries became relevant again, the marriage between Robert and Mary was unraveling. What once appeared strong had become strained. Arguments escalated, disagreements deepened. There were battles over finances, custody of their 4 children, and a new relationship that added even more tension, his involvement with actress Cheryl Hines, whom he would later marry in 2014. To those close to the situation, it was no longer just a marriage in trouble. It was a relationship in crisis. And this is where the story takes a turn, because what Mary did next suggests she knew something was coming. If you're following this story closely, don't forget to subscribe to Unveiled Truth Crime Tales, because the deeper we go, the more complicated this becomes. According to Isabel Vincent's reporting, Mary didn't just read the diaries, she kept them, and more importantly, she shared them. In the weeks before her death, she reportedly gave those journals to someone she trusted, not to publish, not immediately, but as insurance. That word matters because it suggests intention, it suggests awareness, it suggests that Mary believed those pages held power. To understand why, you have to see the diaries through Mary's perspective. For years, she had lived inside the Kennedy world, a world of influence, expectation, and public image. But behind closed doors, her reality may have looked very different. The diaries, according to sources, helped her make sense of her marriage. They confirmed suspicions, answered questions, and perhaps deepened her pain. At the same time, accounts suggest that there were disagreements over what was real and what wasn't. Claims, accusations, denials. According to the biography, there were moments where Mary's concerns were dismissed, moments where she was told she was mistaken, that what she believed wasn't true. These kinds of dynamics can create confusion, doubt, emotional strain, and over time they can take a toll. Despite everything, Mary didn't walk away easily. Sources suggest she still hoped to save the marriage, that she still saw a future, that she still believed in what they once had. One quote stood out. It was the Kennedys or nobody. That line reveals something deeper, not just attachment, but identity. After receiving the diaries, Isabel Vincent decided to act. She reached out directly to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. She told him she had seen them. There was silence, then disbelief. He reportedly responded, "You can't possibly have seen them." But she had, and she told him so. His response, "I'm going to call my lawyer." And then, nothing. No legal action, no follow-up, just silence. Years passed. The story faded from headlines, but the diaries remained, and eventually they became the foundation for a biography, RFK Jr., The Fall and Rise, a book that aimed to answer one question: who is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. really? Because as Vincent put it, people don't really know who this man is. Today, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. remains a controversial figure, a man shaped by legacy, by loss, by personal battles, and by public scrutiny. But even now, Mary Richardson Kennedy's presence lingers in his story. According to those who knew them, she was deeply important to him, a central part of his life, even after everything. Some stories don't end when a life does. Sometimes they begin with a bag, a set of diaries, and questions that don't have easy answers. What did Mary truly believe in those final weeks? Why did she choose to pass those journals on? And what do they really reveal about the man behind the name? These aren't just historical details, they're human questions, and stories like this remind us that behind every public figure, there are private lives we may never fully understand.